trailer was still not over. It showed the cave that the crews lived in. It was dark outside. The crews were inside the cave feeling very worried. Greg started to speak. Alright, everybody. I gathered everyone here to let you know that Eep is outside looking at the sunset. Don't worry, guys. Eep is fine. If the sun is fully gone, she'll down and come back into the cave. I'll come outside to let her know that the sun is gone. Okay, everyone said. Meanwhile, Eep was climbing up some rocks and branches. She then reached the highest point to see the full sunset from her cave, even though it was gone. Then the scene changed to a shot of Eep still staring out into the sunset. But what was behind her was Tex. He was silently observing her staring into the sunset with an RPG-7 in his hands, aiming directly at Eep. The RPG-7 that he was holding looked very similar to the one from Fortnite. All I gotta do is aim directly at that cave girl and shoot her, said Tex. Tex then loaded the RPG-7 with a rocket. Eep heard this and he turned around and saw Tex with the RPG-7 aiming directly at her. Eep screamed in shock. Tex then fired the rocket and shot the branch. Eep then started to scream as he fell all the way down to the ground. Bullseye! Tex shouted. It cut to the crews in the cave. They heard a huge slam into the ground. Grug moved the rock and saw the horrible and heartbreaking fate of Eep. Her head was completely flattened from falling hard. Her back was stabbed by the broken branch that Tex had shot with his RPG. Grugman started to cry. His sobs didn't sound very fake. His sobs were very real. It sounded like if his actor Nick Cage was actually in tears. Texman dropped down to the ground, scaring the heck out of Grug. Hi there, weird cave creature, said Tex. Don't call me that, yelled Grug. What you're doing to these people is pointless. I will have you fed to the animals that are all over the entire ecosystem. Texman smiled sinisterly after Grug said that. He then pointed his RPG-7 at him and reloaded it with another rocket and said, I'm afraid that won't happen. Time to have a fireworks show with the T-Man, yelled Tex. Texman saw Grug with his RPG-7 before his rock pushed him back into the cave. I heard an explosion and the rocket along with Grug made impact with the cave. There was a crack on the outside of the cave, and all of a sudden, there were multiple cracks forming around the cave. At that moment, the cave started falling apart. I could hear the screams of Ugga, Sandy, Gran, and Funk as the cave collapsed on top of him. Tex laughed evilly when the whole cave collapsed on top of the entire family. After a few seconds, the screen cut to black. The turban showed a bird's eye view of Burke. Just then, Toothless and Hiccup flew by. The scene changed to a far shot of Hiccup and Toothless flying. Just then, Tex appeared. He had his jetpack on, and he was flying. He pulled out an SNW 500 with a scope attachment and aimed directly at Toothless and Hiccup. The SNW 500 was a scope attachment, looked similar to the scope revolver from Fortnite. Texman said, There's the last of those people that are on my list of animated characters of this section. Now it's time to get the tranquilizing going. Hiccup then saw Tex flying next to him far away from where he was and said to Toothless, Bud, I think we're in trouble. Toothless bellowed in agreement. Tex had his fingers on the trigger of the said revolver. Just as he was about to shoot Toothless and Hiccup, he heard a voice say, Hey! Just then, Tex looked back and he saw Astrid riding Stormfly flying up to him. And only that, Snootleg and Hookfang, Fistlegs and Meatleg, blah 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 blah. You stay away from my friend Hiccup or we'll burn you to the ground with our dragons. Tex grinned stupidly and did some stuff, blah 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 blah.